Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Laura with Stitchin with Laura. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a great day. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I am going to show you how you start a pre-stamped cross-stitch kit. Now this is my second time through, so hopefully I get you all the information that I gave you the first time. So, let's say you have gone out and you've gotten yourself a pre-stamped cross-stitch kit. That means that your pattern will be printed on the canvas for you. Now, this particular brand is DIY, and the pre-stamps also come as a Joy Sunday type kit. This should be Joy Sunday because it's packaged exactly the way that it is and the way that a Joy Sunday kit comes. Sometimes at the stores they will say that it is a Joy Sunday kit. Others, you don't know. But for our intents purpose today, we're going to be using DIY cross stitch. Now I find it to be the easiest kit that you can get. They come in a little bit more complicated, down to something that's very simplistic, and a little bit smaller. This one is a 40 by 50 and comes with a beautiful picture of what it's supposed to look like, and she's sweet. And it also this one came from Fan Sales, by the way. I'm sure that they have that pattern at other stores. And it comes with a paper pattern. Now the reason I like these kits is because the paper pattern matches the canvas. Unlike the Joy Sunday kits, they have their own separate booklet and their own separate, on the paper pattern, the symbols do not match what's on the canvas. So for simplicity's sake, we are going to use this one. Now it does show you your big key here. This is your numbers that are going to be on your thread card. It does have the colors. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Don't panic, it's fine. Now, throughout the course of this tutorial, shall we say, these are my opinions. This is the way I do it. It's not set in stone that you have to do it that way. It's just how I do it. And I like these kits because everything is included that you need to just stitch. And these are usually patterns that do not require back stitching, so you just do cross stitch. You only have to worry about one stitch. So let's take a look at the thread card. This is how your threads will come. Now some kits do have, like say, an excess of this color. It might come, in a skein or hank, as they call them. So you use it just the same way, and therefore there would only be, I'm looking, there aren't any hanks. There would be like one thread attached here, and then you'd have your hank of thread. So showing you that number 11, and you look on here, number 11 is 782, and on the hank it'll say 782. And in some instances it might say number 7, showing you that that is, the color that you need to use for number 7. So, since I have done this ahead of time, we're going to go back and refresh. And it's a refresh for me because y'all never saw it yet. So, sorry, we're going to have to do a redo. But I did promise you this kit, so. But all your colors are already on here. They're very easy to get off. And they do match. Now, I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So you have a nice fairly good size pattern, paper pattern. Like I said, everything's going to match on the canvas. If you need to, you can take this to the library, or if you have your own printer, you can blow this up if you need to see a section. Now this is an 11 count, so it is fair size. Now I'll show you, hang on. I have an example of 14 count compared, sorry it's a little wrinkled, compared, see how small the squares are on the 14 count, and this is an 11 count. I would suggest 11 count only because it's easier to see the symbols for me, and it's easier to stitch on, and the progress is a lot faster. Does that make sense? Because you're covering a bigger area. So I wanted you to see the difference here of those two. So we have our canvas. Like I said, we did this a minute ago. I don't know what happened. But this is your canvas. It does have the same product number. Let me pull it down. The product number, how big it is, and how many squares per square. When I say that, there are 129 squares going this way, and there's 173 squares going down, is what this part means. This 40 by 50 is the entire surface of the canvas. This one is not serged. Some are. Joy Sunday always comes serged. So if you prefer that, that's fine. Let's open it up. Now these, I'm going to try to get it, oh man, really messed me up there. Alright. So, if you lay these side by side, all the symbols going down are all the same on your paper pattern and on your canvas. This one happens to have colors. Sometimes they do have colors, sometimes not. Now, on number 9, for example, these colors are a little bit more vivid than here. It doesn't mean a thing. Just let it go. I use this right here when, oh, I need a white. Let's see what numbers are white. So I could, or white, excuse me, white-ish. So I would pick those 3 and then look to see if that's what that is, you know. Do you know what I mean? All right. So we have our canvas. It's very well printed, very easy to see symbols. Hang on. Very nice. That's why I like 11 count. We're just going to lose this here for a second because it's kind of getting in my way. We'll set it aside. We'll use it. So, then you have to decide, where do you want to start? Now, how do I determine where I start? It's usually determined by my camera and what is easiest for you to see. So 9 out of 10 times I start on the upper right hand corner. And also, do not get these canvases wet. I do have my coffee. I need a drink. Because after you've stitched all this, you're going to soak it in lukewarm water, and all of this printing will go away. It'll just disappear. So if you're drinking a beverage while you're stitching, make sure you don't get your canvas wet because it will blotch it out. Now you do have one thing going for you on this particular one, is that you know where you started, basically, if you start in the corner or whatever. But they're all printed on this and they match this, so you know. You can go to the first square, which is 10 squares, and it's all in increments, and it's gridded all the way across and all the way down. So the top of it and the left hand side is all gridded just like your paper. But it's very, very easy to use, and there's no guesswork. That's what I like about PreStamped. Everything's set up for you. All you have to do is focus on your cross stitch. So, let's say we're going to start in this corner. Okay? Now, I picked that and I picked this because it has the most area where I can just continuously stitch and perhaps use up an entire thread. If I don't use all of a thread, let's say, oh, I missed a symbol there. I'll get out a piece about yay big and do that one symbol, and then whatever I got left over, I just tie it onto my threads. You know, back with the appropriate color that I started with. But I usually pick a symbol where there's the most stitching to be done to use up a whole thread. I usually go one thread by one thread. Or if it's just a section I want to get done, you know, I might use half a thread. And each thread has, has 6 strands. For an 11 count, you want to use 3 strands. So we're going to pull out this white. You notice how the way it's on the thread card, there are bumps all the way across. So you want to go to your bump and pull one strand of 6, pull it straight up. It's all wound up together here. We're getting there. We're having a day. Just kind of steady it and pull it very gently out. That way, get a hold of it and pull it out, and it comes right off. You do not have to take these off the thread cards, you know, if you don't want to. It's all set up for you. Some kits I have seen, and I don't know a particular brand that would do that, maybe Dimensions. They're not on a thread card. I don't know. I haven't had a Dimension kit, so I can't tell you. Alright, so we got our thread, and it's 24. So, and that's a blue symbol right here. They're very nice. They're very big, usually printed very well. And it's dark on the canvas, so you're not squinting to see what is that symbol. No. I like that, and that's why I like DIY. So we take my thread, and you have a very long thread. It's probably 2 yards long-ish, thereabouts. So I cut it in half. And the reason I cut it in half is because if you use one whole great big long strand, after it's gone through this material several times, it will start to get fuzzy and it might even break. So I cut them in half, and then I take the thread and I separate it out so that I have 3 strands on each side, and I hold it, I get it wide enough so that I can put this whole little mass right here in my hand. Sorry, it was getting too bright. Alright, and I put my 2 fingers through here. It's kind of like you're getting ready to cast on knitting, you know, when you go like this and then you take your needle, you know. But I hold it in my right hand, and I'm working this thread with my hand. And I keep my thumb there so it won't flip back because it's twisting. Put my thumb there, and I come over here and I grab it with my hand and just pull it apart. Then I take each strand and I fold it in half and I hang it. Hang it upside down till it stops twisting and turning, and that helps it not snag up, you know, when you're stitching. After you've gone up and down so many times, it starts twisting underneath, and then, you know, you end up with a knot. You don't want that. So just kind of avoid that by letting it hang and it will untwist itself. So, that's the thread. Now, let's see. So now we are ready to stitch. So I get one strand, and yes, I'm a knot in the end. Now see, I already got a little knot here, but we're going to just pull it and it'll come undone. So I either lick the thread or whatever, and I make a knot in the end. Nobody's going to see my back. Nobody is going to judge me. Nobody's going to judge you. And these are just my opinions and the way that I do things. Because it's not going to matter at all. But, you know, if you want to get fancy, you can do a loop method or whatever. I'm just not going there. So, I do have a metal needle threader. I suggest that you go on Amazon. They're about $1.50. Okay, they're probably $2 now. Because, you know, inflation and everything and all. $2.50, and I think you get 50 or 100 of these. I bought this 4 years ago. They're still in the package, and they're fairly sturdy. They have a big end, and they have a small end. Some of these DIY kits come with a kit, and it has a needle threader, a poof ball that you can stick your needles in. Comes with 5 needles and a thimble, so that happens sometime. But they're all pretty consistent. Sometimes they have a little bobbin in there. Sometimes, you know, if it's a big kit, they might have a seam ripper, or they might have a pair of little snippers that you can snip your thread with. Yeah. Just depends on the size. If you are just starting in this, I would get something small. Something that is accomplishable. Maybe, now, I don't have a small one. Do I? Maybe. Joy Sunday is notorious for having small ones. And this one that I'm working on here is 34 by 38. And it's not very big. You know, it's fair size. But it's doable, you know. But this is a 14 count. And not, whoops, we don't want to lose our thread. Let's not get everybody confused. But it will say on the package or in the description when you purchase it. So, first thing we're going to do is thread our needle. And that thread actually went with that. Okay, because it's not taken apart. Alright, so we have our knot in the end. Now you can, what I do is I cut the end off if I'm just going to thread it this way. So we're going to go the way that you would have, because it didn't come with this. But these needle threaders are wonderful. You just stick the small end in this particular needle. If you're using a bigger needle, you can use the other end. Fold it over, hold this thread in this hand, and gently, I say gently because I have broken needles, because I tried to get too many threads, and just pull it through. So that's like a $2 investment into what you're doing. Alright, I'm just going to set that over there. Now, since I've decided I'm going to start with this blue color, trying to keep all the threads together because they're just wanting to play. So, my desk isn't very big. Now, you might be stitching at home, in your chair, do as you please. I have clips. So, I just roll it up, and I take one of my clips, and it clips right on there, and it holds my fabric right where it needs to be. Now, we're going to go over this. There are circles here and there and on the canvas everywhere. It might be easier to show you on the pattern paper since everything is the same. Get it right tied up. So there's circle, 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 circle. They're here, there, and everywhere, all over the pattern. Well, what does that mean? That means that that's your thread color. So you go to 23 and you find out that that blue symbol matches the 23. Or the 18, the yellow symbol, matches 18. So you look for 18, number 18 thread on your thread card. Now, before I start, let me move that so I don't... I take... This material is kind of stiff. Sometimes it is stiffer than others. But I always kind of crinkle the edge and work it a little bit in my hands. Just kind of meshing it down, crunching it. I go a couple different ways if it still feels a little stiff to you. And then I roll it out, and then roll it sideways, just so that it fits in my hand. Now, some people will put these in, what do you call them, Q-snaps. I cannot stitch up, down, you know. It just kills my shoulders. So, I stitch with the sewing method. I do have a tutorial there. In my cross stitching that shows you how to do the sewing method. And the reason I am trying to get people to do the sewing method is the thing that I found out when I first started to cross stitch, and I remember this, I was like 7 years old, 6, 7 years old, and I'm looking for the next hole. You know, I'm down here, and I was so frustrated. I was like, what the heck? I can't know. So, when you do the sewing method, I just want to get to a place where you can actually see what I'm doing. Alright, so you're in your square, and each square has 4 sides, or 4 holes, if you will. It also has 4 sides, because it's a square. Amazing how that worked out. Okay, so I want to go diagonal, and go across to the first hole, and get it to pull. Now I've made the first leg of my cross stitch. And you didn't have to go hunting for it underneath or from down below. You know, I can't do it. I just cannot do it anymore. So now I'm going to go across the one I already made down to the bottom right hole. And I'm going to take my needle and go to the top left where I started from and push my needle through. And of course, you have to knot up. When I told them that you weren't going to knot up because I fixed that, right? Yeah, they call you liars. Alright, so now I'm ready to start my next stitch. So top right, take the needle, go to the top left, go to the bottom right, and back up to the bottom left, sorry. Like I said, my tutorial tells you exactly how to do that. But it saves on the level of frustration. You're concentrating simply on each next stitch. Instead of, where's the hole? And I can't get it up there, and now I'm frustrated, and I don't want to do this anymore, right? It's easier to learn this in the beginning than it is after you've done it up, down, up, down. So, and it makes it far less frustrating. So, bottom left to top right, over to the top left, and down again. Up to bottom left, across to top right, your needle right there. And repeat over and over and over again. So I hope that this has helped you find out that this isn't a scary thing. It's very easy to learn. You only concentrate on one stitch at this point. That's all you need to know, is how to make those X's, period. I wouldn't get into back stitching or French knots or half stitches and quarter stitches. Don't get hung up there. And if you want, you can use this as practice, you know, and maybe at a later time, once you get this down and everything, people learn at different levels or different rates of speed for different stitches. So yeah, I would just start with cross stitch, and then, oh, I kind of like to learn how to do back stitching. Well, how do you do that? Now, on some of these kits, especially, well, Joy Sunday is the most consistent. It does have on the back of the Joy Sundays how to do what I just explained on getting your thread and matching it up with the symbol. And down here it shows you, I don't know why that is so dark, hang on, exactly how to make cross stitch, how to make half stitches, quarter stitch, 3/4, continuous, cast off, French knots, back stitching. It shows you it all. Some of the DIY also show you on their paper patterns. I don't have one to show you, I don't think. No, they don't. I don't. But they will have the same instructions that you just saw on the Joy Sunday. But I hope this helps everybody that is starting. And you do stitch over, before I forget, when you see these on here, just stitch right over it. You know that all those in that white little circle right there are this blue color. Just stitch right over it and keep on stitching. I hope this has helped. As I say again, thank you for joining me, and I hope y'all learned something. If you have any more questions, please put it in the description box below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and please hit the bell. That way you'll know when my next video comes out. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye. Keep stitching.